to be here. Moments like this, I wish I was taller, but just bend that closer to me. So hi everyone, it's so great to be here with you. So I'm Stacey. Just a few things about myself. I grew up in a primarily agricultural part of the country in Ontario. Migrant workers were our friends and chosen family. So that's a bit about me. And so when I moved to Nova Scotia, slowly started making my way out east and saw that there was not any grassroots work being done with migrants. And so, yeah, I think there was one-off, initiatives taking place. And we started to build relationships with migrant workers and created the Centre for Migrant Worker Rights, Nova Scotia. And so I'm here to talk to you about migrant worker rights in Canada. Many of the examples I'll share are from Nova Scotia because that's the context that we've been working in. Also important to note, we started our work, it was probably in 2020. But that comes also prior to that. Myself and other members of our organization had been involved in organizing with migrant workers and migrants for many years prior to that. So this is us, Centre for Migrant Worker Rights, Nova Scotia. So we primarily work with migrant workers in the agriculture and seafood sector because those are the biggest sectors where migrant workers are employed in Nova Scotia. And this is a bit about what we do. So our work starts with outreach. I'm sure you do outreach in your work too, lots of outreach. So people, to do relationship building with people so people know that we are there if they need support. Educating workers about their rights. We do support services if workers are in situations of abuse, typically workplace abuse, workplace injuries, or other vulnerable situations. We do community building activities to build bridges between Nova Scotians and migrant workers. And we also organize and advocate. We see a lot of issues one-on-one coming up with migrant workers, and we know that there's systemic roots, there's systemic issues. So we advocate for improved conditions. So when we talk about migrant workers, another name for migrant workers is temporary foreign workers. And this is from the Government of Canada website, that the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, which is the program that enables Canadian employers to hire migrant workers to fill temporary jobs. And I put temporary jobs in quotation marks, which I'll talk a bit more about. But yeah, the idea is that they will hire these workers when there's not a qualified Canadian who's available to do that job. And Temporary Foreign Worker Program, it's actually a program of programs and streams. There's many different programs like the Agriculture Program, Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program, Low Wage, High Wage, Global Talent. Those are just some examples. But in the work that we do as an organization, we're primarily working with low-waged, racialized migrant workers that are coming as agricultural workers, or if they're seafood processing workers, typically they're in the low wage stream. And so Canada's Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program started in the 1960s. And that actually predates the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, which started in the 1970s. So when we talk about temporary jobs, like we're talking about, these are programs that have existed for decades now, that are bringing workers to do these kinds of jobs, like agriculture is key, which I'll show you. So when I was in school, we learned about the important role that Chinese immigrants played in the building of our railroad system. We learned about the head tax. We learned about these ills of the past of the Canadian state and our treatment of immigrants. We didn't learn about how much of that is still ongoing, but in different ways. It's transformed. So when we look at the past, this is important to have this historical context. And I also want to say my aim is not to do an academic presentation, but I just want to highlight some points here. So in the past, we extended opportunities for settlement to Canada to Europeans who came to work in the agriculture sector. So here's an example. In 1947, there was a temporary labor importation scheme for Polish agriculturalists, and they were granted the opportunity for citizenship within 2 years. So that's an example. But when we look at a program like the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program that has existed now for over 50 years, there's never been a pathway to permanent residence. And we're talking about people who are coming from the Caribbean and Mexico through these programs. There's never been that opportunity. So this is a look at the kind of work that migrant workers perform. We know that migrant workers are active in many different sectors, but a key one is the agriculture sector. So that's the top bar here, and this is from 2017 to 2022. So Canada has received a lot of criticism of the temporary foreign worker program now for many years, and this is just the latest. So last year, a UN official issued a scathing report of the temporary foreign worker program after having talked directly with workers across the country, support organizations, and others. And they characterized the temporary foreign worker program as a breeding ground for contemporary forms of slavery because it institutionalizes asymmetries of power that favor employers and prevent workers from exercising their rights. So that is a theme that we're going to come back to in many of the examples that I will share. And just to say, after that report came out, Amnesty International came out with another report that really echoed a lot of what the special rapporteur said. So I want to talk about why this is happening. And so there are really a number of conditions that are faced by migrant workers that create a recipe for abuse. So one is that migrant workers are typically coming to Canada on closed work permits. That means that they're only legally able to work with one employer, and that's the employer named on their work permit. So they don't have any labor mobility. If any issues come up at work, they are not simply able to leave and find work elsewhere. They have a temporary immigration status, which I talked a bit about before. So their temporary immigration status is tied to their employment in Canada. So what this means is while migrant workers have many of the same rights as Canadians on paper, in practice, their ability to exercise those rights is limited because they can easily be fired from their jobs if they speak out about their rights, if they try to exercise some rights. And they can also, that means they can also be easily sent back to their home country because their employers, arrange their flights. And so if someone takes you to the airport, you're just gonna board that flight. And so not only that, but it also jeopardizes their ability to come to work in Canada in the future. So that is key. That is key to understand in terms of the realities faced by migrant workers. Also, migrant workers in certain sectors, like agriculture, are typically living in employer-owned housing. So that means that the employer is also their landlord. And we've seen a lot of issues for decades of, complaints of overcrowding, complaints of poor quality and decrepit housing. There's isolation because typically they're living in rural communities. There's language barriers. For example, a lot of workers maybe speak Spanish or other languages. And also they may face racism. But they're also typically working in non-unionized work environments as well. And they're typically facing increased safety risks in their workplace. So they're typically doing jobs that Canadians don't want to do. They're jobs that are characterized as being difficult, dirty, dangerous, and sometimes deadly. So this is what we mean by 4D jobs. I want to share with you just a few words from a worker in Nova Scotia, and just to say, you know, there's many workers that are silent of abuse that's occurring in their workplace. There's workers that reach out to us as an organization and tell us what's going on in their workplace, but say, we just want you to know that this is happening, or ask questions about their rights of things that's happening in their workplace. But also, you know, we know that wherever there is poor conditions, wherever there's oppression, there's also resistance. So I do want to highlight some of these examples. So the first is from workers who came from St. Lucia to work on a Nova Scotia farm. Actually, I might not have good audio, so I will skip that one. But I'll share with you other examples. It's okay. I'll share other ones. So
I'm probably going to have to hold the mic down so people can hear it.
Oh, okay, yeah. I can hold it.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, yeah.
There we go.
It's okay. I can.
You sure?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, I'm good. Thank you. Wow, I feel like a performer. Okay. Thank you. So I want to share with you the story of Carrie Ann Burnett. Carrie Ann came to Nova Scotia as a migrant worker from Jamaica. Can I ask who in this room has heard Carrie Ann's story before? Okay, thank you. Okay, so I am going to share with you her story. So she was working on a strawberry farm, and she started to become ill, and she was ultimately diagnosed with cancer. So what happened in this situation? Carrie Ann was fired from her job. That means that she lost her housing, which was owned by her employer. She lost her private health insurance, which was also tied to her employment. Her immigration status was put in jeopardy. And she also lost her income, of course. And also important to note that in Nova Scotia, you have to have a 1-year work permit to be eligible for provincial healthcare coverage. There's no federal healthcare coverage for migrant workers, despite the fact that they're coming on a federal program. It's up to each province to decide. And in provinces like Ontario, if you're coming on this program, the SOP, Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program, you have immediate healthcare coverage. But that's not the case in Nova Scotia. So she didn't have provincial healthcare coverage. So she decided to speak out publicly about her case. In her situation, it was a life or death situation, and she knew that if she went back to Jamaica, she would die. And so she decided to advocate. And so other important things to note is that migrant workers pay taxes. They contribute to our social safety nets, but as we see in this case, they're excluded from access. Migrant workers also pay employment insurance, but they're excluded from accessing it. And there's actually a class action around that currently. And so, we'll see what's happening, what's going to happen in that case. And so Carrie Ann, we worked with Carrie Ann, did media trainings with Carrie Ann, had public events, did coalition building in Nova Scotia. And there was broad-based support for Carrie Ann to have access to healthcare coverage that would cover treatments. And so ultimately she was successful, and we were successful. And so that was amazing. Carrie Ann, we connected Carrie Ann with a legal clinic that supported with the legal applications. I'm also happy to share that Carrie Ann recently won an award from the Canadian Health Coalition in recognition of her advocacy. So that was just a few months ago. And Carrie Ann has continued to be active migrant leader. And so here's a picture of us at a recent healthcare rally. There's many other stories. This is a story of seafood processing workers who are working in the South Shore of Nova Scotia. And in this situation, what happened is that the workers, Mexican workers, were facing poor conditions, safety concerns in the workplace, discrimination. For example, one day so this was a workplace that had Canadian workers and Mexican workers. One day all of the Mexican workers were called into a room and they were chastised because they were told that they were not working quick enough, even though, as they put it, they were working quicker than the other workers. But somehow there was a separate standard for these workers. And so the last thing that happened is that one of their coworkers was, a Mexican coworker was fired. And so the workers came together and not having a union. They didn't have a union. And so they knew that there was strength in numbers, or so they thought. So a group of workers, about 10 workers, came together and they tried to organize a meeting with the employer to raise their concerns, to try to address issues in their workplace. What happened? The employer mass fired all of the workers. And so when they were mass fired, they were also immediately evicted from their housing. And so I would say, thankfully, in this situation, and we talked about community building and how that's important in the work that we do, because everyone has a role to play in the community, taking care of each other. And so these workers had been going to a church, and members from that church had a place for them to stay, so they did not become homeless. They reached out to us, and we supported a number of the workers to apply for what's called a vulnerable worker open work permit. So I talked about how when you're on a closed work permit, you don't have a right to work anywhere else. But if you have evidence of abuse, if you can put together an application to immigration officials, if it's accepted, you can get a temporary open work permit for up to a year. And our organization is the first organization in Nova Scotia to offer free support with these applications, because unfortunately there's no free legal support otherwise to do this. And so the workers we supported were successful in those applications. The workers also made labor standards complaints. And this is the ultimate result. Ultimately, they were awarded $23,000, which was historic in Nova Scotia. So that was amazing, and they used the evidence that we had gathered and the affidavits from the vulnerable worker open work permits. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, it's important to acknowledge these wins. So again, despite all of the constraints that migrant workers are facing, they're advocating for improvements in working conditions in the ways that they can. I want to share the story of Antonio. Antonio came as a migrant worker to Nova Scotia also. He reached out to us one day. So he had been coming to work on a farm for 5 years. He was diagnosed with arthritis in his knees. And that was, for someone his age, that's like quite young to be diagnosed with this condition. And so he had talked to his employer, requested his employer take him to see a specialist. One day, his employer said, "We're going to take you to go see a specialist." But then when the driver arrived, they said, "Pack your bags because you're going back to Mexico." That same day. And so Antonio was devastated. He shares that he had a range of emotions. He was angry. But, in a way, he was also, he had been away from his family, because migrant workers, through these programs, cannot typically bring their families with them. And so he went back to Mexico. And we he had reached out to us, I think, on the Friday, and we had reached out to him the following day, and he was already back in Mexico. And so Antonio was persistent. And we supported Antonio to make a workers' compensation claim. That was in 2021. I believe it was 2021 or 2022. And unfortunately, so that was the first hurdle, right? Having contact to an organization that can tell you have a right to apply for workers' compensation and to help them with that application. which is what we did. Next hurdle is to get it accepted by workers' compensation. So it was denied. So Antonio didn't give up though. And it went to, he appealed it with the support of an organization. And so ultimately it was accepted at the Workers' Compensation Appeal Tribunal. So that was amazing. After over 3 years. And finally now in 2025, just a few days ago, his first benefits were issued. So that is, yeah, that's life-changing for someone. And I want to share a quote from Antonio. So he said, having worked with the company for 5 years, I wanted to think that they saw me as important. But when this happened to me, I was disposable. Send him back and send us another worker. This situation is seen often in the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program. If someone is no longer useful to you, throw them away and ask for another one. So this story is an achievement, said the worker. So yeah, that's how a lot of workers feel, that they're disposable. That's what they're told. If you complain, there's 1,000 other workers back in Jamaica or back in Mexico that will come in your place. So that is also what keeps workers sometimes silent. Last story I'll share, also from Nova Scotia. This is of a group of women migrant workers who were also working on a farm in Nova Scotia. And they were experiencing abuse in their workplace. We also supported them with vulnerable worker open work permits. And they left their workplace. They fully expected that their employer would send them their final pay by direct deposit, which is the way that they had always been paid. Why would the employer not do that? But that didn't happen. And so, this again was a multi-year struggle for unpaid wages. And it was hundreds of dollars for each of the women, which for a company, that's not a lot of money. They paid a lawyer for years to fight this. Shame. And so, but for the women, that's a fair amount of money. And so we supported the women. We worked with mostly volunteer lawyers and law students to put together legal submissions, because again, there's not legal supports in cases like this, like in this specific situation. And so, again, we were successful. So that was recent, like in the past few months that happened. So that was incredible. And here's some quotes from some of the women. So one of the women said, "I feel great that after all this time, the labor board decided on our favor and our hard work in the hot sun was not done in vain." And another worker said, "When you work, you're supposed to get your pay. We need it, even if it's $100. It's unfair in life to go to another man's country and they don't pay you. If the employers don't have Jamaicans come, they can't take care of their field. They need to respect people and their time. We Jamaicans are hardworking people." So those are two of the workers. Thank you. Okay, I'll just briefly mention Orlando Rosas. He was working in a hotel, and there was mold infestation. And so he also decided to speak up publicly. So this is another story. But this is not only happening in Nova Scotia. So here's an example from BC. So migrant workers on a mushroom, in mushroom farming, were unionized for the first time in decades. And so that was an incredible win. That's UFCW. Yeah. Yes. Amazing. We need more unions, yes. And just to say, we're part of the Migrant Rights Network. This is a coast-to-coast network of migrant justice organizations, organizations like ours that work with migrant workers, but could also be undocumented workers, refugees, and migrant students. And we've been building this movement to push for permanent resident status on arrival for migrants. As I mentioned before, we know that there's racism rooted in the fact that migrant workers are not given that option to have permanent resident status. And we know that if temporary immigration status is one of the key problems, then if we take a root cause approach, the solution is permanent resident status. Permanent resident status, so you don't need a work permit, so you can work in other places. You can leave an abusive workplace. You can to fully be able to exercise your rights, to have access to essential services, and also to be with your family. So there are challenges. There's ongoing challenges. There's always new challenges that we have to confront. So we've seen that since 2023, there has been an uptick in anti-immigrant opinion in Canada. This is obviously not only a Canadian thing, it's North America, it's global, and that influences policy. And so that has led for the Government of Canada to say we're going to cut immigration. Not only, so they've said they're going to cut temporary immigration, i.e. temporary migrant workers, but also cuts to permanent residents as well, permanent residence targets. And so after years of criticism of the closed work permit system, the government has said we're going to do something about it. So what are they going to do? They're making changes to the temporary foreign worker program. They've said that they're going to create a new stream for agriculture and seafood workers. They've said that workers will have a ability to work. They'll have a ability to work with other employers in the agriculture and seafood industry. That sounds great, but in practice, it's really just a repackaging. It's like smoke and mirrors, truly. It doesn't really change a lot. It doesn't change a lot for migrant workers' mobility because to an extent this already exists. Migrant workers need a labor market impact assessment if they are on a closed work permit to be able to work somewhere else. And that labor market impact assessment says that they weren't able to find a Canadian worker to do that work. And it's very hard to find an employer who has an LMIA currently. And so it's just more of the same. What is going to change though what other things is going to change though. Currently for agricultural workers, housing is part of their employment contract. And they only pay utilities, they don't pay rent. So that's a big change. The government is considering allowing up to 30% deduction on their wages for housing. And so that would be a rollback for workers on top of other deductions, including, like I said, EI, which they don't even have access to. But also, when we've been talking with workers, we've talked to over 100 workers about these changes. It's a big concern because it's like the quality of the housing that they're getting is not very good, and that they're gonna have to pay up to 30% of their wages towards it is, that would be unfair. So workers are speaking out about that. And I want to mention, so we have a new government. And, we are getting to know this new government through the policies that they're announcing and the changes that they are wanting to make. So the government has proposed a new bill that has been highly criticized as being anti-refugee and anti-immigrant. And as it says here, giving Canada unchecked powers like the United States. Not good. And so you can find out more by signing up with the Migrant Rights Network and getting updates there. So how can unions support? So of course, unions have been supporting all along. There's unions that have been involved in supporting the migrant rights movement, including Status for All. So there's ongoing opportunities to support these movements, to advocate for improved working conditions for all workers, including migrant workers. Worker education and activities to build solidarity between migrant workers and non-migrant workers. We know that there's a lot of attempts to divide workers, and we know that we're also stronger together. And also, strengthening collaborations between unions and local migrant worker organizations. We work in Nova Scotia, but there's organizations like ours throughout the country. So that is, that's me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Stacey. Does anybody have any questions for Stacey? Dawn?
Thank you very much, Stacey. Can you, so how does the whole process work? Like right from a worker, like how do they access where they work? Like obviously social media and the use of cell phones and all that has probably helped for workers to determine where to go, where the best places, where the bad places. But how do they apply? Like how does the whole initial process begin?
Yes, I'm happy to answer that question. I also have a little makeshift newsletter sign up. So if anyone wants to sign up for updates from MRN, Migrant Rights Network, or us, I can pass this along. I'll just pass it over here. Thank you. And is the pen helpful? Okay, so that is an excellent question. So basically, it depends what stream or program you're coming through. If you're coming to Canada through the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program, that is a bilateral agreement between Canada and Mexico and Canada and Caribbean countries. And in those cases, it's the government that does the recruitment. And basically they assign workers to an employer. A worker doesn't get a say in what employer, they don't choose their employer. So that is important. They can't choose what province they go to. A lot of workers come year after year to the same communities, but that's not always the case. But if you're coming through other streams, often it could be recruiters, and workers can pay. We've supported workers who had to pay like up to $30,000 to work for a job for the immigration process to be able to work in like a fast food restaurant. Like in that case, that was a supervisory role, on the promise that they would get permanent residence. So that is a big issue in that for workers there. And so, yes, it could be through online ads that they see the jobs.
Thanks. Tom?
Yeah, your last point there, unions working with your organization, makes sense. In Ontario in particular, you can't organize agricultural workers. And I think that's the case in a lot of the provinces. So there's already a barrier there, to unionize those types and protect them. We've been successful bringing foreign workers for skilled trades in from different countries for line work. But they immediately come into a collective agreement, so they don't have any problems. But it was good to hear BC that they can organize agricultural workers, because that's the first I've heard of that. But there's a big barrier there, so the only way to be helpful is to work with organizations like yourself.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Any other questions for Stacey?
I just wanted to say, Stacey, thank you for the work you do. I live in a agricultural community, quite big in BC, in the Chilliwack area. And I guess my comment is, I just love the people that have come to our community. And nobody wants to do those jobs in our community. And it's so sad that, you know what I mean? So there's got to be something better for the people that come. That's what makes me sad, I think. And they're amazing people. Amazing. They run our groups. Many of them are actually in management in our greenhouses and are being a part. So it's nice to see that at least. Yeah, it's very sad.
Thank you.
The healthcare is the big issue. So I know that.
Yeah, and I want to add too, I didn't say, but we recently had like a community meal in the Valley. That's one of our community events that we do every year that workers look forward to, brings together Nova Scotians and the workers, the migrant workers. And there's a worker that was retiring after 30 years of coming to work in Canada. So there's workers that have been coming here for 30 years and 40 years, every year. And some workers tell us, oh, when I go back to like Jamaica, that's like my vacation. Because it's also hard to find a job when you're back home for only like 3 months of the year sometimes. And so workers feel like the majority of their time and lives are here in Canada sometimes, but they don't have that access to the permanent residence.
What is really critical is a lot of our Mexican workers are actually finding community. There's a couple of restaurants that I can frequent, and they're taking them in and building community for them. At least there's that I've seen. So it's
Thank you.
yeah.
John?
Yes. How does your organization and other advocates for workers' rights for migrant workers fight against some of the propaganda that you see online about, and you see it all the time, like on Facebook and things like that, like there's like this, like they get like an 80% wage subsidy from taxpayers and so on. Like, how do you, and you see it all the time there, and how do you combat and fight against the lies and all the anti-immigration propaganda?
Yeah, thank you. Like in the Valley, we've developed an educational workshop that we do to try to combat some of the misinformation and share practical skills to challenge racism. So that's a bit of the work that we do. But with the Migrant Rights Network, we're looking at doing a bigger campaign around that.
Dominic?
Yes, thanks, Chris. Stacey, just want to ask you on the issue of the EI. Is there a fight going on? Because what we know is our seasonal workers in Canada, when they're off season, they go into the EI and get some money, right? But these temporary workers, I don't know what we want to call them, when the season is up, they're going back to their countries. But do they have access to a little bit of the EI to keep them afloat?
No.
So, but there's are you guys fighting on that?
There's a class action lawsuit currently that is just in an initiating phase in Ontario courts. So that is one to watch out for because, yeah, they've paid a lot into the system, but can't access it. Particularly migrant farm workers. If you're sometimes in other sectors, you can, but yeah, many workers are coming through the agriculture program and can access it.
What about Nova Scotia? Is there anything in this?
No, there isn't anything specific. Like I would have to look at that class action and see. I'm hopeful that it would apply to all workers in Canada and not only in Ontario. But yeah, there's not a current in Nova Scotia now.
Jeff?
So at our last, and I guess any of your executive meeting we had, and where were we?
Victoria?
Victoria, yeah. Didn't we have a professor from Simon Fraser come and talk to us about how the immigrant workers or the companies, big corporations, brought in and lobbied hard for these policies to be able to bring in a lot of immigrant workers that help suppress the workforce, break unions, threaten them. So they gave us, she gave us this study and was really good. So I'm just wondering, like, do you see a lot of that ahead of time when you hear, like, do you have certain companies that you go, oh, this is what these guys are about, so we need to make sure we're doing protection for anybody coming in, any immigrant workers ahead of time?
So we, let me see. I mean, there are certain employers where we know that we've received a lot of complaints. Our work is really focused on relationship building with workers. So when workers reach out to us, that's when we hear about a lot of the issues that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Stacey? Teddy?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. The question I have is, thinking about other places in the world, it could include the USA, but other places, like, do you have any information or knowledge about the way migrant justice struggles are, or is there any comparable successes or things like that like, can be looked at as far as supporting to improve things here? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, right now there is another legal action in Canada. It's against the closed work permit system, and they're looking at some examples in other parts of the world where there are migrant workers who have open work permits. And so, yeah, we as an organization haven't delved too much into that. I would say we do a lot of networking and coalition building with other organizations doing similar work in Canada. And we learn from there, but I would say not yet from a more global perspective, but that's something for sure to look into more. Thanks.
Any other questions for Stacey? Dawn?
So I think you kind of touched on this at the beginning, and we talked about this with Ken Strauss as well at our Victoria meeting. It used to be that domestic foreign workers coming from the Philippines couldn't even apply for PR status until after 10 years. Has that changed? Are they like completely separate from the other group of workers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for that question. So there was recently, there has been a pathway to permanent residence for care workers, but I know that there's been a lot of criticisms in the ability for them to actually access permanent residence through those programs. And the government did announce and did open a small pilot for care workers recently, but it filled up quickly. And there was a lot of criticisms because there was, not a lot of spots. So that is, around care workers.
Dangle a little carrot, but there's really no substance, right? Sounds about right.
Still many challenges.
Great. Thank you for the work you do. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Shelley?
Struggling a bit to figure out how to ask this question, but I'm just wondering, how you get your funding to continue this amazing work that you folks are doing. How do you even have where do you get your resources to continue this work? I'm just curious about that.
Thanks for the question. Grants, which is very limited. We know that's very precarious. So that is an ongoing, something that we're working on.
Thank you.
Thank you. And donations. Thanks.
Any other questions for Stacey? Seeing none. Stacey, thank you very much. That was well presented and educational for me. I can say that. And on behalf of the Confederation of Canadian Unions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you're also welcome to join us for lunch.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Okay.